Alrighty, here I am, guys. I'm a couple days late. 2 days late to be exact. I didn't see this patch hit. Sometimes you don't know there's a patch until you launch DotA. So I'm a little bit late on the patch review, but we're just going to do a patch review. We're not playing. We're just getting this out of the way. So a bunch of terrain changes were made to Radiant Tier 1. That's bottom lane, bottom right. Top, basically in the bottom right, the upper left, and near mid. They've made quite a few changes due to juke paths, trees, etc. I never can review these if I don't know exactly what the change was. I'd have to see the trees, but it's good that they're continuing to adjust. We have some neutral item changes, just because they obviously released a lot of these, they have to balance them. Pollinate, the health restoration debuff that it applies when you use it, was increased by 20 to 30. So it has a bigger impact on your restoration, that new stat that happened during 7.39, which is a big deal, so big buff. Dezoom Bloodright, which is bigger spells, but they cost health. Abilities that are considered attacks are no longer impacted. ODs, Astral Orb, Viper's Poison Attack, etc. I guess they were affected. Blood Invocation AoE bonus was decreased from 15 to 12, basically meaning that larger effect is nerfed as well. Giant Maul has Crushing Blow. It's how long the movement slow and attack speed slow and cast speed slow are on the enemy was nerfed by 1 second. That was probably needed. Magnifying Monocle, which gives attack range and cast range, was decreased from 125 to 100. Which also affects the Dormant Curio. I think any change is affected by Dormant Curio as well. Helm of the Undying, which gives you a certain amount of time after you die that you can keep extended in your killing. The cooldown doubled. It was up way too often, which I never see it because tier 5 items are rare, but I can't believe it was 50 seconds. 100 is much more reasonable. There was Crude, which was one of the enchantments on tier 4s. Health restoration bonus was increased, so it gives you a bigger buff to your health restoration, but the intelligence reduction was also decreased, making it better in general because it costs less as far as intelligence as a negative, but increases the positive side, so it's really nice for that. All right, a lot of changes, and a lot of them are to facets. I have not read them all. I got a little bit down here. AM's Magebane Mirror, which basically makes it so that when you counter a spell, it hits that unit for damage of the spell as well as mana burn hit. It's basically what it does, right? If you look at it, its counter spell burns a percentage of the countered spell's mana cost from its caster and does damage based on that mana. It already did the damage back, obviously it's countering, but it also on top of that burned mana and damaged. The mana burn percentage actually went up, so it burns more mana at the later levels, so it's a bigger mana hit. And the affected counterspell ally also buffed the same way. So they're just trying to make this facet taken more often. Axe's Ags, which does an attack damage reduction on anybody who he hits with counter helix. Got nerfed by 3%, making it less effective, so that's good. Beastmaster's Innate Rugged, which means that his damage block chance is increased by 50% versus non-hero units and non-building units. It just used to be non-hero units, but now it's also non-building, so that he doesn't get the chance to just dive under tower. Bloodseeker's Facet Old Blood, which makes it so he can blood rage should be cast on enemies. It increases base attack damage, spell damage, but silences them, which is the old blood rage. It now takes a little bit longer to cast on allies because it was too fast. But they did up the damage, the bonus base damage by 5, so probably fair. Bristleback Snot Rocket, which is what makes his bristleback shoot out nasal goo instead of quill spray. The radius was decreased by 150, making it even less, ideal. It's still good, probably. I don't like to take it personally, because it's not why I play Bristleback, but nerfing it's probably fair. Broodmother. Necrotic webs reduce health restoration. The health regeneration reduction now also affects health restoration at the same values, because it also hits health regeneration differently, so it just made sure they're the same value, which I think is a buff to this. Horsepower, max movement speed is decreased from 600 to 575, so it's a nerf to that facet. Darkseer. Ion Shell's duration is decreased at all levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a bigger nerf to Darkseer, just kind of doing his thing, because it's less likely to harass the enemies as meaningfully or push as far. Wall of Replica's cast range was decreased by 300. That is a tremendous nerf. That really hits Darkseer hard. Now, he was really strong, and it's probably needed, but that's a huge nerf. Dazzle's Nothel Boon, which makes Weave apply 2 stacks to allies, meaning a big armor buff to your allies. And Weave amplifies incoming heals from Dazzle by 7.5% per armor stack, meaning that you're going to be healing a whole bunch. The heal amplification from Dazzle increased by 2.5, basically. And that basically means that it's even more impactful, bigger heals. They nerfed the slow on Thunderstrike slightly. I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is. They basically halved Doom's health regen, so he's much squishier, just because he won't regenerate in lane. Elder Titan lost 5 movement speed. Excellent. Oh, this is a big buff to Enchantress. The Wisps. There's one more now, which obviously is at the heal per second. It's per Wisp. So, 16 per second for 13 seconds. It's one more of those, basically. And it also allows her to heal allies similarly, because they split. So, bigger heal. Splitting Image, which I have to check it. Enigma spawns Eidolons upon receiving damage. The damage threshold was increased, meaning he has to take more damage before Eidolons come out, which of course means less Eidolons depending on health bar and stuff, which is a bigger issue for Enigma. Eidolons created from multiplying will now automatically attack the same target as their parent, meaning they won't accidentally split to other things, because that's what would happen sometimes. They would spawn but decide to attack something else, which sucked because it was more micro for Enigma. So that's really nice that they just kind of have that. Because lots of changes. For Falcon Rush, abilities that are unit targeted attacks now allow Kez to rush to the target. Okay. Got it. Like if he switches and uses a different ability. The duration increased as well, just at the earlier levels, so it'll last longer for the buff of secondary attacks and stuff. Talon Toss costs less early, allowing you to actually use it in lane. Shotosai, which is his crit. Once again, grants bonus stun and critical strike for marks generated by parrying, so now you can actually still stun people again, which they took away. Parry bonus critical strike was rescaled. So instead of being just a flat crit, it depends on the level. So now Shotosai at level 1 is a really, really shit on the bonus critical strike. But when someone's 30, it's actually a bigger damage at the end, because that's 120. I'm assuming that, when you actually level Shotosai to 7, right, you would of course have a much bigger crit, because that would only be 28%. So it looks like it's a pretty big nerf, but it ends up being better late. So it's an early game nerf for an end game. So, it's probably fair. I don't know how this will matter. I don't know as much about Kez as I'd like to. Okay. When an enemy hero dies around Lich, instead of getting 15%, like of his max mana, it's 25%. So Lich will be more, able to get mana back. Good for him. Gore Storm, which is his consuming creep, drenches people in blood. The remaining health as Gore Storm damage was increased from 25 to 30, so it's a bigger effect for this facet. Slow Burn, Spell Amp now affects only the total spell damage before the burn damage is calculated. Okay. It was having a weird interaction, so they kind of regulated it so that you calculate what is the total damage going to be first, with all spell amp considered. Then have it happen over a bird. It might have accidentally been amplified twice, so it'll nerf this facet. The health change on attribute shift strength in both direction is now affected by negative health restoration effects, meaning that there's actually more ways to counter Morphling when he's trying to get really tanky. Super big nerf to Morphling. This is probably going to be the nail in the coffin that makes Morphling just not played. I think that is a huge nerf. That just means that when Morphling is trying to, strength gain shift, they already nerfed how fast it shifts. Now also, you can hit him with negative health restoration effects and make it even slower. Gold per hero level was increased from 1.5 to 2, so this money gaining thing is bigger. Or, for the support interest profit, the tree enchant radius was decreased by 300. Okay, after Sprout is cast, all trees in a radius emit an aura that heals. So they just wanted to make sure that it wasn't quite as big, like as many trees being affected. They nerfed his ult by 10 at all levels on the base damage, which of course gets multiplied as it bounces, which means it's actually multiplicatively effective as a nerf. Because now that you're losing 10 and it could bounce 16 times with 10% bonus, that 10 would have also propagated another 1, another 1, another 1, so it's actually going to be more like 25 less damage per hit. Ish. Like by the end of the chain. The night duration of Void's slow was decreased in the earlier levels, so it's not so impactful in lane. That's probably fine. Hammer of Purity's cooldown was increased, so it's up less often for 3-2-1 at all levels. The damage was also decreased lower, so it's harder for Omni Knight's lane, which I already thought was true, so I'm glad. I mean, he's just unplayable then. Strength gain was decreased by 0.2 in Oracle, so he's going to be squishier. And the heal amplification on Reign of Destiny, because it gives a heal amp, was decreased by 5%, which also nerfs Oracle's ability to combo big heals. Probably both needed, though minor, needed. Almost at the end here. It's going to be a 15-minute video. Ringmaster, Sideshow Secrets. These are like a whole list of things. Clairvoyance scan duration was increased by 1. It scans a targeted area globally, indicates whether there are enemy heroes there, just like scan, reveals invis units and wards, but does not provide vision, so only if you're there does it reveal that stuff. Alright, cool, nice buff. Pie Toss, knocks enemies back, slows them, and reduces their vision. And gives them their own vision. And it instantly kills any non-nation creep. The vision recovery time was increased from 2 to 3, which means it takes longer for you to get your vision back. Also a buff to this facet. They did a little mana cost lowering on Burrow Strike. It costs less by 10 at all levels. That's really nice for Sand King, more mana capable. They changed a lot of these talents. They just buffed them all. Just cast range, sandstorm damage, stinger slow, all increased slightly. Shadow Shaman. Ether Shock does less damage at early levels, so it's less spammable in lane. They increased the cooldown of Shackles by 1 at all levels. It was probably way too low considering how long it is. So fair. Silencer. Suffer in Silence, which... Silencer takes less damage from and deals more damage to silence units. The damage percentage was decreased. So that damage difference of him dealing damage or taking damage as a buff for him went down 2 all the way to 5. So that's a pretty big nerf because he was probably doing too much damage. I hadn't seen him, but I'm guessing. Skywrath base damage was increased at later levels. Minor increase. It's mostly int-based, but that's still later game relevance for Skywrath. Health gain per second on Barracuda went down at early levels. It's just level 1. Just the level 1 Barracuda they thought was too strong, so they nerfed it by 5. I think that's fair. Sniper base armor was increased by 1, making him much more able to trade in lane. This means that Sniper is probably going to come mid even more often than he was before, because now he can actually fight to the death if needed. armor doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is, and you're going to also see him as safe lane carry more because, again, if he gets ganked, he might actually be able to pull a kill out of it because of how much longer he'll survive. Sticky Bomb's damage increased at early levels, so it's more relevant in lane. Only 15, but that's still really annoying. It was already doing a lot of damage, so that's really annoying. Refraction costs 10 more, that's a nerf. Bonus damage decreased at all levels, 5, 10, 15, 20. That's a big nerf. Each individual hit getting nerfs, that sucks for TA. I mean, I thought they buffed TA really nicely in some other ways, so to get nerfed kind of stinks. Illusions under Terrorblade's control that are within range receive a damage bonus. Illusions outside the range receive a damage penalty. Basically, the penalty was increased by 10%. So if a illusion Terrorblade leaves Terrorblade, it's even weaker than it was already. Tinker. Translocator. No longer blinks Tinker if he is rooted or leashed. So he's not able to use this Translocator to get out if they root him or leash him. So Slark jumps on you, Atos, whatever. It just will not teleport you. That's a really big nerf, since you'd have to, of course, cast it again to hope that they do enough damage again to get you out of it. Really bad for Tinker. Good. Troll Warlord. Bad influence increases during Battle Trance. Troll Warlord has increased max fervor stacks and no attack speed limit. Battle Trance grants allied heroes 50% of the attack speed bonus. Battle Trance max fervor stacks was decreased from 15 to 12. Okay, so he was getting too much attack speed during this ult, so they just nerfed it. Even though I never see Troll played. Fiend's Gate costs less to allow you to actually cast it. Good. Ooh, okay. Slow resistance rescaled, so when he's hitting someone, when he actually gets ready to hit people really fast, he gets slow resistance, so it's harder to keep him off you. Now it's in the middle between levels 2 and 3 always, which means early it's still helpful in lane to chase people down against a Veno or something. But unfortunately later game it's going to hurt. Fury Swipe's reset time decreased on Roshan specifically from 10 to 8. So if you don't hit Roshan for 8 seconds, your Fury Swipes will go away. That's minor, but it allowed certain abuses to allow you to heal during Roshan. I'm pretty sure that's why they did that. Sepulchra, Grave Chill also affects units around the target. The secondary target penalty was increased from 50 to 70, meaning it's the secondary hits. You hit someone with Grave Chill, the secondary hits are even weaker. They're very minor secondary hits. And Warlock. Golem's permanent immolation is now affected by Warlock's AoE increase, meaning that if he gets any kind of AoE increase of any capacity, the Golem has a bigger flame aura as well, which is a buff to Warlock, which is really sad. So, I mean, overall, these changes are pretty minor. I don't know how the terrain changes will really affect. I think these changes on neutral items are super minor. Axe is getting basically a late game nerf is essentially what this looks like, right? Beastmaster is not going to be able to charge under towers as often. Minor. A big Darkseer nerf. He's going to kind of fall out of the meta. Minor. Kaz, I don't know what to say about. I'm not sure. Minor. Nerf Morphling is out of the meta. Probably a nerf overall inch profit, although I'm considering this gold per level, maybe a farming profit, a 2. Minor. A nerf to Shaman, which is needed. Minor. Probably a big nerf to CH. She'll probably follow the meta too. Minor. Everything else is minor. I don't think any of these are going to really change. Any of those other things that I listed, I don't think any of them are going to change how heroes are played, if that makes sense. I think it doesn't much matter. It's not going to impact anything. Well, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you all next time.